Thank you so much for being here. My name is Emily Wolfram, and I'm the Executive Director of the Montana Performing Arts Consortium. And I just wanted to share a quick bit about MPAC before we get going. We are a network of performing arts professionals who work together, and our goal is to strengthen access to really great live performances all over the state of Montana. And our association includes members who are performing arts organizations from throughout the state, also service organizations, artists, artist agents, and other affiliate organizations like schools and libraries who occasionally will book live performance through our network. And our main priority, like I said, is connecting Montana communities with really great performing arts programs. And we try to do that by giving our members the resources and programs that help them do their work successfully. And one of those programs is this workshop. It's part of a series that we just launched called the Connect and Learn Lab. And this is the first time we've had a panel. So thanks again for joining. I'm really excited for this conversation. Just a quick few housekeeping things for Zoom I wanted to share to make this easy for you to navigate. This screen shows our Zoom controls. So on the left, you've got a way to mute or unmute yourself. Do stay on mute unless you need to come off mute to ask a question. And there's also the chat where you can type in questions as we go. I'll be monitoring that. You can also raise your hand if you'd like to ask your question out loud. You use the reaction button there down at the bottom if you're on a desktop computer using your browser. And so you can use your raise hand or use the reactions if you hear something that you really connect with. There's also closed caption settings if you'd like to read along. And if I can't show it on this screen, but there's also a full transcript that's being recorded while this is going. So if you miss something, I like to use the transcript to go back and double check and see if I didn't hear something that I wanted to hear that was just like 10 seconds ago. There's some other settings that you might find useful under the three dots where it says more as well. And the last thing I'd like to share, in case you're not from Montana, and many of you are not, I just want to share who our presenter panelists are from. We have Corby from the Alberta Bair Theatre in Billings, and that is sort of down in the southern eastern part of Montana. Billings is one of the bigger cities in Montana. It's actually the biggest city in Montana. We've got Jim from the Belt Performing Arts Center, which is a small town, but it's fairly close to Great Falls, which is another larger city. And then we've got Mike from Mission Valley Live out in Polson, and they also serve Ronan and some other parts of, I think it's Lake County. And then our conversation will be facilitated by Ron DeStefano from Epic Arts Management. So thank you very much to Ron for helping us out with this. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Ron.
Thank you, Emily, and thanks so much for inviting me to be a part of this. I think to start, we can have each presenter make some quick introductions. We'll move from west to east across the state, but I'll jump in by just saying it has been my pleasure to be coming to MPAC in some capacity since 2010. So I'm over the 15-year mark, coming initially as a self-represented artist, singing and tap dancing my way across the state, and then starting in 2015, representing artists, and every year coming back to the Montana Conference to either showcase or just show up, all of which has been wildly productive. So as we move from west to east, I would love each of you to just chime in with a couple of sentences, basically name, rank, and serial number, who you are, the name of your venue, about how many seats it is, and maybe jump in with the number of programs you present per year. And that will be a great way for us to get started. So I think as we start on the northwest corner, we have Mike from Mission Valley Live. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Mike, and jump on in.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. Mike Rodrique from Polson, Montana, on the Flathead Indian Reservation and on Flathead Lake. We serve two cities with stages, and one seats about 440 and the other one seats about 700. We do 6 to 8 shows a year, and almost all of the artists that we hire go into schools or libraries for afternoon shows in addition to the evening performances. We occasionally do artists that only do afternoon performances in our public libraries. That in short is us.
Amazing. Thanks so much. And as we move eastwise across the state, we then hit Belt, which is I would say in the category of ruralness, it might be sort of equivalent to the same, but very different in terms of like the style of the city. So Jim from Belt Performing Arts Center, unmute yourself and jump on in.
Well, thank you, Ron. I'm Jim Olson, and I am the president of the Belt Performing Arts Center here in Belt. It's a community of 600. Our theater is a 1916 vaudeville stage and former Knights of Pythias Castle. It's been completely renovated. It seats 108 people, and so we have had to go to 2 shows a year, or 2 shows a performance. We do 8 shows per year, one every month, October through May. But with that, we do a 3 o'clock matinee and a 7 p.m. And right now we're fairly locked into Saturday performances. So, and we're 20 miles outside of Great Falls, about 45 miles outside of Fort Benton. So we're very centrally located.
Amazing. Well, and then we head over to Billings. So Corby Skinner is with the Alberta Bair Theater. He's our big city presenter on the call today. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the Alberta Bair.
I have to say something first about MPAC. I was program director for the theater for a long time. I sort of retired, did other things. I have other clients. And when I started up again about 4 or 5 years ago, I thought, well, I don't know if I need to go to MPAC because we have this 1,400 seat theater. And I thought, I don't know if I'm going to find anything. The first year I was there, I booked 4 shows. It was great. Some of them were showcased, some of them were just presented. I've worked with Ron, many of the Canadian presenters. So I think the value of it has really gone up, in my estimation. And then we have a new executive director at the Alberta Bair Theatre that just started. And one of the things that he has wanted me to focus on is working with lots of other organizations in Montana. Ron, as you know, if I can pay, $6,000 to $10,000 for a show, there's not many other places that can. But if you can put a tour together of 5, other locations, then it makes me able to bring shows that I want to bring and then block book with other places. So anyway, we can get into that a little bit more. I book about 35 to 40 shows a year, and we have a huge rental market. We're doing 60 to 70 shows a year from various presenters, including the Billings Symphony. So.
Amazing. And to piggyback on what Corby just shared, one of the fascinating things about Montana that's really different from any other performing arts conference, I'd say in the world, having been to quite a few of them, there's an incredible amount of collaboration between the large presenters and the itty bitty tiniest presenters to help artists create a sustainable tour, a mini tour through the state. And it's something that only happens, in my experience, in Montana. And it's just so amazing to watch these presenters work together. So on that note, let's go ahead and dive into sort of what the priorities of our presenters are, and they're all going to be wildly different. Let's jump back to Mike. You mentioned that it's very important for artists who entertain at Mission Valley Live to have some sort of program for the schools, as that's necessary to be part of what you all do there. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and your priorities in terms of outreach?
Sure. Since our group has been reinvented about 10 years ago, it actually goes back over 30 years, but all of the volunteers are really focused on bringing educators, artists into the schools, big schools, small schools, one-room schools, Christian schools, and we also get out to homeschoolers too. That this is a big part of why people volunteer with us. And so most of our shows, but not all, most of the artists need to be ready to tell us what their skills are at doing this kind of presentation, and importantly also what their price is. It's not a convenient time for them to try to figure out what they would want for 1-hour segments to go into schools rest homes occasionally while you're there at the conference in Helena. Think about this, and also be forewarned. Many of this medium, us, and small towns, we don't have an unlimited budget, and that their price has to be reasonable for what they're offering. So what does that mean? If they're going to do 2 or 3 outreaches a day of each approximately an hour, maybe 200, 250, 300 per hour. That's a great thing for us to start realizing whether this group is what we're looking for. So yeah, it is a really important thing. I know some of the bigger presenters, which we are thrilled to be partnered with, don't have as much of this, but for us and for most of the small presenters, this is really important.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing those details. I think it's important to say for our artists and agents who will be guiding their artists, first-time attenders to the Montana conference, the presenters are looking, many of them are looking for the words, "We're happy to do outreach," to hear that sentence either at the booth or literally delivered straight from the showcase stage. So many of our presenters, the ones on this call and the ones not here today, rely on funding from the state of Montana and also nationally. And that funding is contingent on the performers doing an outreach in conjunction with a performance. So have that idea in mind. What can you offer? Is it a songwriting workshop? Is it magic with students? Is it something at a senior home? Is it for veterans? Those things are all very important, and you should have those ideas and the cost for them in your brain. A lot of artists might even attend saying, if you book an evening performance, the outreach is complimentary. So that's another tack to take with this sort of thing. Let's go back to Jim. And why don't you share with me a little bit about the types of programs that seem to resonate with BELT audiences and sort of how far out of the box you're able to go. Are you more into commercial music, things that are artistic, variety, music? What's working in BELT?
Thank you, Ron. One of the big questions we ask ourselves as we attend the consortium is, how will this play in BELT? It's a rural community. We draw from a lot of the ranches and small towns from, I don't know, up to 30, 40 miles away that come in. About a third of our patrons come from Great Falls because the theater is so intimate and easy to access. And so we're very grateful for that. We actually try to get out of the box. Now we live in a community that would love to have country western every show, but we feel that's not our mission. And so, we bring in a spectrum from jazz to classical to Broadway type performances. We try and have at least one country act, usually in January or February when the ranchers are available, and it pulls them in. But I think we're quite liberal. We'll have a good portion of our board at the consortium, and so collectively, we're able to dial in fairly quickly. But as Mike mentioned, outreach is so important, and because we are locked in on a Saturday performance, it means somebody's either coming Friday for school or Monday, and we bring them oftentimes to the theater. But one thing about BELT, we put you up in a 5-star accommodations at the ranches of Belt Creek. They have an on-site chef, and it's almost like a mini vacation for the artist oftentimes. We've had artists that have written songs or while they've been there. So it's that type of environment. One thing we can accommodate, sometimes there isn't a dead day, and we can sometimes work in an extra day or two at the ranches, which allows for ease in trying to navigate some of the other close by venues. Or Montana's strange. It's wide. It's the same as Washington, D.C. to Chicago. So that's how big of a footprint that you're sometimes trying to navigate and see what's close, and everything's 3 hours away. So
Jim, you're doing 2 shows in one day, which is not something a lot of the other Montana presenters do. And I know it's even relatively new for you. How does your outreach figure into that? Is it the day before, the morning of, the day after? How does that work?
our show is on Saturday, and so we do a 3 o'clock matinee and a 7 o'clock evening show, which means that the artist either does the outreach on Friday afternoon, or we'll keep them through the weekend and Monday morning. So it doesn't always work out. We hit about 70-80% maybe. So I mean, it's not a no-go, but it's something that we try to take advantage of. We live in a sports community, a rural, where football and basketball rule, and the only arts sometimes that our young youth are exposed to is what we're able to bring into the theater. But it's built excitement, and it's led to the creation of a youth players program, and people able to participate in arts that just aren't otherwise available in the school system.
Gotcha. Joe, I see your question in the chat. At Bell, you'd be doing the exact same performance twice in the same day, 2 totally different audiences. They just have such an incredible participation from their community and surrounding communities that they're able to fill their theater twice. So that's how that works in Belt. So Corby, you got 2 questions coming your way, but before I get there, I just want to comment a little bit on what Jim just said, and it's going to segue into the next part of our conversation, which is with our Montana presenters, you sometimes have to get creative in that maybe you're going to slide the Belt outreach in on Monday morning, but you're going to perform at a different venue on Monday night because you had your Belt shows on Saturday. So it's going to require a lot of understanding the geographical proximity of these towns. The presenters will help you understand that. You're going to be working in all kinds of outreaches and shows and just creating a 7 to 11 day tour. If you incorporate the Northeastern presenters who will block book you for a week, it might even be a 14 to 16 day tour. So it really is a fascinating thing that it's just a logistical puzzle that becomes a multi-month project to put together. So moving on to Corby, I would love for you to share with everybody how the Alberta Bair is different from what we just heard. And I know you could probably say everything is different, but just saying you probably program things that are so across the spectrum. And tell us about all the different kinds of programs you present there.
Well, one of the things I want to talk about is the school program. We have an incredible relationship with the Billings public school system, Laurel, Lockwood, and dozens of schools. We have schools that will drive 150 miles to come in for shows. But when programming, I hate children's shows. I mean, I would say that I don't want to see another Mother Goose or Magic School Bus or any of those things because I tend to think they're really dumbed down. So because we have 20 school shows, my agenda is to get those kids to see real stuff, not kids stuff. So we have them see Momix and the Red Hot Chili Pipers, David Parsons, Cirque Calabante. And oddly enough, those shows always sell over 1,000 tickets. That subsidizes my evening programs, where sometimes I will sell 600 tickets. So it's an odd thing that the school, because we always do 2 school shows, we do a 9:30 and a 12:30. I can get $10,000 from school ticket sales that help subsidize, particularly Joy. I think you were here or was listening in. Dance. And dance is an impossible thing to sell, but in many cases that has worked in our favor, being able to do 3 dance performances when normally we would only do 1.
Gotcha. And that's a unique situation there in the Alberta Bair because a lot of our other presenters are actually paying to
And
bring the show
your
to
other
the space.
question,
Oh, sorry, we might be having
Ron?
some connectivity issues. Yeah, I was just filling in some
You
holes
freeze.
there that your model is very different. At at the Alberta Bair, they're actually getting financial subsidies from the schools. They're actually paying for these outreaches that actually makes it all make more financial sense for them. So it's a unique situation there. And you just shared with us all the different kinds of programming you do. I mean, a lot of the other Montana presenters aren't able to do dance at all in any capacity, whether it's because of their venue size or their audience. So you really are doing some really unique stuff there. Since we're with you, can you share a little bit about the block booking process at MPAC? That's such an important part of the conference. How does that work? After the presenters see all the showcases, what happens next?
And who's that question for?
That was for you, Corby.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I actually book with some theaters that don't come to the conference that I'm going to get after them. We need to get Kalispell to come to the conference. We need to get Butte to go to. I looked at their season lineup, and each one of those theaters had 5 shows that I booked, and then they got on the coattails and paid probably half of what I paid for. But I wouldn't get that tour if they weren't able to go to 2 other venues. I just think it's critically important. I hadn't planned on booking Buzz Brass, and it was hugely popular, and it showcased at MPAC. And I know a lot of other smaller presenters took that show on. So I go to a bunch of other conferences, WA and APAP, and those are for like much bigger shows. But occasionally I'll get a show that I'm not going to be able to bring it in if I can't get it to at least 1 or 2 other locations. So
Gotcha.
for me, it's on the phone a lot saying, I have this show. Are you interested? So.
Yeah. And Mike, you've been part of what I like to call the Montana sequester. You know, after everyone sees all the showcases, the Montana presenters do something on Sunday morning that the agents and artists aren't invited to. Can you elaborate a little bit on that, Mike?
You have to not listen, Ron.
So when we get together on Sunday morning, we're trying to gauge the interest of all of the presenters, and we're trying to find out what people have gotten for prices. Warning, you need to be consistent about what you're quoting for prices. Even though you may adjust for the size of the town and the community, do be consistent. And also available dates. When artists or agents come to the conferences, they really need to be able to answer right off the bat what time periods, 1 to 2 to 2.5 weeks, are you available? Because we all start working on that really the first and second day of the conference. And by the third day, Sunday morning, we want to focus in on how many people are interested in what groups and what time periods are they available so that we can start booking right away. So make sure you know the answers to when are you available. I know that we have artists that have been doing this for years and agents that are highly professional. And we also have artists that are just learning the ropes. And a lot of times we say, okay, what time periods do you have available? And an answer that is like, I don't know, I have to call somebody to find out, or I can get back to you on that. You're already hurting yourselves as far as your ability to get bookings quickly. So make sure you've got us ready on Sunday morning to talk specifics about time and price and availability, and we'll figure out which communities are interested, big and small.
That's right. And I'm going to have Emily get ready to turn on your mic because I'm going to ask you a question in a second about how that all works literally logistically. But I do want to say, pro tip, having been to this conference now for over a decade, you might think it would make sense to walk in and say, we don't have any bookings yet for next year. We're totally available. That actually doesn't help the Montana presenters. It may help you to start the sentence that way. We're actually pretty wide open right now, but then continue by saying, but generally speaking, we had it in our minds to maybe be coming to Montana the first 2 weeks of October, and then we could come back the last 2 weeks of March. but we are generally available if someone has other ideas. Just having those guideposts in for the presenters to bring to the meeting on Sunday morning can be really helpful. I have walked in saying wide available and then ended up with nothing because each of the presenters literally picked a different month. And we weren't able to route it together in a tour. Emily, can you talk a little bit about what the agents and artists get after that Sunday morning is complete?
Sure. And I'll go back a little bit, just because I want everyone to know like how intentional and how hard we work at this. At the beginning of the conference, the presenters all get this, they get one sheet of paper per organization, and it's got a list of every artist in the exhibit hall. It has them check off like their level of interest, like maybe strong or like really strong, and then some notes, which is where the intention is to have them at least like name a month and a year that they're aiming for, maybe a couple options. And I get that all inputted miraculously, by the time I show up for the jam session on Saturday night. That is all entered in a Google form. So it's filled into a spreadsheet on the internet. So that way on Sunday morning, when we are all drinking really strong coffee after that jam session, we can just open up that spreadsheet and we just go through every artist on the list one by one to check in, discuss what people have learned. Sometimes the interest changes based on that conversation. I'm giving away some trade secrets about this block booking meeting, but that's okay. And then we sort of refine what's there, and then that gets put into a PDF that I share with our whole membership, and that includes everyone who's participated in the conference, but also everyone who is a dues paying member, who, even if they could not come to the conference that year, just because we have to face the reality that not everybody can come every single year, but everybody wants to participate in booking for next year. So that's what
Very
you get.
helpful. Yeah, and that's important to note, and I'll get to these two questions in the chat next because they connect exactly to what Emily just said. Information about your show, the pricing of your show, all of it is going to be shared communally with everyone who is an MPAC member. That's buyers, agents, and artists. So you just have to be okay with all of this being on the table. It's part of the Montana experience. Joy, yes, I would say all, but all is a crazy word. Everybody that I can think of is going to be booking the following season. So we're going to be showcasing in October for bookings generally between September of 2027 and May of 2028. That's the general season. We do have a few Montana presenters who are doing some fun stuff in the summer, but and Corby is pretty much all year round. But that is pretty much what's going on. And part of the reason behind that is they have to get their season subscriptions. They have to print their brochures. A lot of this work happens a full year in advance. And please correct me if I'm wrong, presenters, but that's my general experience. Jason, I would say in terms of the pricing consistency, people like Corby and Kalispell and Butte know that they are the big fish in this pond. They know that they're going to be providing possibly an anchor date at a full price that pays Delta Airlines and pays your rental car, gets you to the state of Montana, and they know they're going to be facilitating the ability for Hobson and gosh, every city in Montana is leaving my head right now, but all the cities under population 3,000 to join on. That's part of the experience in Montana. So I think you can be frank, you can be transparent. These presenters have been doing this for years, and you can say our normal one-off price might be this number, but we're willing to discount based on the size of your venue and your budget. What are you willing to do? They're all going to talk to each other. So I don't think everyone is necessarily interested in paying the same number, but they're interested in relatively being in the same ballpark for the same size show. I hope that helps. So yes, Emily just chimed in with a little bit of cancellation. That does happen. So moving on, let's get back to Jim Olson. And of course, presenters, please chime in if you have any other thoughts on any of the conversations that we're talking about. Let's talk about the conference specifically. Booths, setting up a booth. When you walk into a booth, what kinds of materials do you want to see? Do you want to have things to take with you? What kind of information are you looking to hear? Are you going to make a booking and pick a date when you walk in the booth, or is it more general? Give us a sense of how the conference actually functions for you.
We probably are not going to make a date and pick a specific time when we come to the booth. Love a at least a business card, a handout brochure. After we go through, our board members will all sit down together at a table and we'll talk about it. Having something that highlights you. Occasionally artists will have just a demo soundtrack, whether it's a clip or MP3, and those are helpful, but not critical. But it's difficult after the showcase that you perform in. Everyone kind of gloms to that, and there's not enough time for everyone to meet. So being available at your booth, perhaps after other showcases or in between, makes it a lot easier to try and get a few minutes of your time and introduce ourselves. And that's just the challenge. People are excited about what they just heard, and being available. And I know it's difficult sometimes, flights and how long you're actually able to stay for the conference comes into play, but yeah, definitely at least a business card and possibly just a one-page, this is who we are, this is how you get hold of us. And most of those contacts happen after the consortium, when we start really visiting and enter more of a dialogue.
Right. I would say in a world where Vistaprint and Canva exist, you can create a really nice one-page takeaway for under $50 that will cover every presenter in the room. It's just great to have something with a photo, some information about your show. Don't necessarily put pricing on that piece of paper so you can use it anywhere you go. And also that's a flexible conversation. Maybe the configurations of your show that are available if it's flexible, and contact information. That's super duper important. But all of that, just to have some sort of takeaway in the booth is great. Something eye-catching behind you can't hurt either. Pop-up banners, something that you can just have that people, see you in the hall. All of that is super duper helpful. So back to Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about, one more thing about that. Agents who are showcasing artists at the conference do know that the buyers in Montana really want to talk to the artists after a showcase. So artists expect to be in the booth with your agent there. It's not necessary for the agent to provide that blockade. These presenters want to get in touch, shake an artist's hand, say hello, get that information directly, and you're just there to facilitate. So artists, if you are being represented at the conference, know that after your showcase block, it's great to show up in the booth with your agent. Also, artists, I would say, buy the meals. That is a great way to make your way around the room and meet so many different people. And the food is always wonderful. So going back to Mike, tell us a little bit about showcasing. What in the past have you seen work well? Maybe a few horror stories of acts that have maybe overshot what technically can be done in a Montana showcase. Give us a sense of what you're looking for. Do you want a mix of music and talking, wall-to-wall music? Talk to us about showcasing.
Thanks. One, the groups that are not as experienced, if you have some tech problems while you are showcasing, how you respond to that is so critical to small presenters. In your tour of Montana, you will have some technical problems. And if you just take that and run with it as best you can, we know you could play a small town. So don't forget that. When we are seeing people up on the stage, we look for a mix of information, talk, stories, and of course, what they're going to perform. Let's face it, you can get music at high a quality without anyone ruffling in their seat next to you at home. It's the stories and the interaction and the energy exchange between artists and audience that makes live performances so special. So we're looking for hints of that in your 12-minute period on the stage. I know if you're new to this, 12 minutes doesn't sound enough, but it really is. So plan your time carefully and Also, try to get those personal contacts. I want to underline what other people have said about a one-page handout. We're going to meet probably 20 or more artists and agents, some of which are going to have 8 or 10 different groups they want us to consider. And if we have a paper in hand, when we get back and talk with our other members of our board, you're like right there as we're shuffling through. It's like, oh yeah, we got to talk about these guys. We got to talk about those girls. So don't miss out in having something to hand out. If you are, as a presenter, as an artist, have a showcase in the last session, I would recommend that you have some sort of video showing what you do on stage at your booth, so that we have a little idea before we get to the very end, when there's never enough time, about what you can perform, what you can present. And then that way we'll be able to sort through things better and keep you in mind more. Any more specific questions?
No, that was great. There is kind of a mad rush after that last showcase block of like, oh my gosh, we have all this new information and only 45 minutes to talk to everybody. So you raised some really good points. And these presenters and these buyers are smart. They will go home and do their research. They all have the internet. So don't fret that you didn't get all the information out at once. Corby, I'd love to hear a little bit from you about what you look for in a showcase. You attend all the regional conferences that we go to, so you see a lot of showcases throughout the year. What works well and what doesn't? Any tips for people?
I was just thinking about visiting booths. I've been around so long that I used to go to conferences and bring back stacks and stacks of CDs. Nobody has CDs anymore. But we need, when we talk with an agent or an artist, I need a video clip. I mean, I don't need it there. I need them to provide a video clip. A thing that's hugely important for us, I need to know what the study guide is, the age group for study guides. And it's sort of surprising how some groups put together these incredible study guides that are so good. That wins over all the teachers that I have, so that I can convince them of that. But, everything's online, but you want to have, in fact, our retiring symphony director sent me a clip of a group that she's with, an Irish group, and it was a fun little video, but it was filmed in somebody's house or in a bar or something. I said, I don't know how that translates to stage. I mean, the music sounds good, but I don't know what it's going to look like. It seems like kitchen band. So you need to see what that performance looks like on a proscenium stage rather than just hearing the music. And for me, there's a lot of shows that are not ready for prime time. They may have talent, they haven't put a show together that has, well, I need a lot of bells and whistles. That doesn't mean it has to be huge. It could be two people that have great rapport with the audience. But you need to have a full show. It's not just playing the instrument or dancing. That whole thing needs to be the full package. And that's what I always look for.
That's a really good point to raise. Presenters in general are looking for you to definitely have a 90-minute minimum full-length performance, whether or not it's a 2-act separated by an intermission or 90 minutes straight through. That's a conversation with each buyer. And they're also looking for a minimum 45-minute student outreach. Make sure you have those things. Like Corby said, make sure you have a study guide. You've looked at Montana curriculum. You're trying to align what you do with some of these things. You've maybe used AI to help you craft something that looks super professional, that is really positioning you as usable to these buyers. And the information that you have, whether it be press materials, whether it be your blurbs, your copy that you've written, whether it be these study guides, that's what the presenters, the buyers are looking for, because that's what they're going to turn around and use for their audiences and their teachers and their students. So help them help you. Give them the information they need to purchase your show.
And a tech packet. That's the other
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
My front of house and tech people are all over me when I am looking at a show until they see the tech packet to make sure it's either going to fit on the stage or what are they going to have to rent. I mean, a lot of times people will showcase and you think, oh, that's great. And then you find out that the back end is $3,000 of renting, the entire sound system and drums, and it becomes cost prohibitive. So that's important to know, not the cost of the show, but also what is the labor in the back end that might be involved.
Right. I will say, here's my one plug for people to visit epicartsmanagement.com. There we have every artist on their page has a sizzle video, 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes, showing their show live with an audience. There's tech riders there available 24/7. Steal those templates. We don't care. We stole them from somebody else. Take a tech rider, make sure you have that to give to these buyers, a professional looking tech rider that states, what equipment you're bringing, what equipment you need. Do you need a piano? Do you need cameras? Do you need multimedia? Are you happy just with, a space in a corner of a community room with a wired mic on a stand? Maybe you bring that with you. On our website, we have everything from a 2-person folk duo to a 11-person band, and you can see how all those different tech riders work, and they are free for you to take a look at and use. Let's get to a couple of questions we have here in the chat. My friend Jerry Abramson just asked, will just exhibiting at the conference and not showcasing help with possible bookings or exposure? My long history with this conference says that if you showcase, you have priority, because that means that Emily is leading a discussion about those groups on Sunday morning with the buyers. Everything else is going to have to be, after we make our way through all of those acts, anybody else have something they want to bring up that wasn't showcased? And then you're going to be relying on the buyers to start a conversation about your group. It happens. I do know, and I don't know if they're all gone or sold out or however Emily is doing it this year, but there is a pitch session, and that I know agents can get up there for 5 minutes and talk about some acts. Those acts that are mentioned during the pitch session are usually brought up in the Sunday meeting as well. Emily, did you want to comment on the pitch session?
Yes, the pitch session is we've got most of them now, but every now and then there is a cancellation and I end up with a 5-minute hold to fill, and that's an opportunity for somebody who is physically there. And I did want to just edit one thing. We do actually include every booth holder on the list that we go through on Sunday morning. So because I am aware that like the presenters they do make their rounds. Most of them try to see like every booth, and we'll have conversations with everyone. And if something comes from that, we want to, we do save time for them. We do go through the showcase artists first, but we go through everyone who has a booth.
Right. And then Jocelyn just said, if an artist is not available for a block book beyond 2 to 3 days for reasonable price, does that restrict booking opportunities? Well, I would say it would restrict it to the 2 or 3 buyers that can fit into those 2 or 3 days. I would say maybe if you can find a way to come back for multiple 2 or 3 days at a time, maybe that would be a way to fill in all the presenters who have interest in you. But I know a big part of MPAC is sort of, I sometimes call it the Costco of performing arts consortiums, in that low price bulk. So you might get 14 days of shows, but all at a lower price than you would normally book your show. For artists that are traveling far, I know our Canadian artists are sometimes coming from many, many, many hours away. Sometimes it gets tricky. I will tell you, Montana is far away from everything. You think it routes with the Northwest, it doesn't. Seattle is like a world away from Montana. So just keep all of that in mind. Somebody had a question. Was it Jim?
Ron, Jim Olson in Belt. One of the challenges we face is everyone loves to come to Montana in October, November, or April and May, and we do one show performance a month, and so winter months can be challenging, and sometimes it's 60-degree weathers and the roads are great, and other times it's 20 below and snowpack. So it's a challenge, and I think everyone's willing to work with groups if we end up with inclement weather or it's impassable, but that gets to be a challenge where we're only booking one artist a month. So, if there's any flexibility or room to say, gee, I think I'd like to go cross-country skiing in Montana, January, February are pretty good months.
That's right. Someone's got to perform in Montana the third week of January, and someone's got to perform the second week of February. So get your four-wheel drive. Especially if you're from a climate where you're used to driving in that kind of weather, you can take those bookings when some of the other artists are scared. So there's a little pro tip for you. I think we have, we're in the last little quarter of our meeting here. Emily, does anybody have any questions? I think this could be a good time for someone to unmute and just share any thoughts or any questions that didn't get dropped into the chat.
Yeah, feel free to come off mute or raise your hand. I'm going to just scroll through here really quick. And also, while people are thinking of their questions, add that as far as the weather goes in the winter months, Montana isn't necessarily like Antarctica. It is like kind of like a dry, high desert. And I'm happy to go in depth about the weather phenomenon that comes here that like kind of like melts the snow and then refreezes everything like off and on all the time. So it's not actually like a blizzard all the time in the winter. It's not that bad.
Yeah, you're generally not in trouble with the exception of our northeastern Montana presenters, and they will talk to you about it. They are rural. You're going to some Native American reservations. You're going to some places where if you do not have a four-wheel drive vehicle and it snows, you will be stuck. So there's special tips for getting a NAN tour, the northeastern presenters. But other than that, yes, it's all generally passable and fine.
Yeah. And someone had asked about, regarding coming to have a booth but not have a showcase. The other opportunity that ends up being more like surprisingly significant to everybody is always the jam session, which I know, Ron, often you miss that. So the rest of us can just share the jam session. It happens on the Saturday night after all the official showcases and everything is over. It's sort of like our conference party. And we have some like basic backline brought into a bar or some other establishment that is used to hosting things like this. And we invite all the artists present, whether you showcased or not, to come forward and jam with each other. And we ask you to like play, popular songs that people could just join in on really easily. And that is a very spontaneous and delightful event. It's well attended by presenters. Oftentimes on Sunday mornings, they will say, well, this is what I thought after the showcase, but then I saw them at the jam session and then I changed my mind. And usually they're more enthusiastic. So keep in mind the jam session. If you have to fly out really early on Sunday morning, that's fine, but do try to come out Saturday night after we're done at the Civic Center.
And
Emily
sometimes those showcases are set up where you think, wait a minute, why isn't that artist performing with that artist? I mean, there's a weird mix that like, oh my gosh, I didn't like their showcase, but the two of them together is like dynamite, so that's really fun.
Every year, someone performs in the bar and gets a job out of it. Every year.
Yeah.
Any questions? Is Jason Lyle Black still on the call? I know he always has all kinds of questions.
Oh, I don't see Jason anymore.
Hey, I've got a few comments I'd like to add.
Go ahead.
Last year we hired 2 different artists that weren't on stage at the conference. We did different things with them. So if you're an artist that isn't on the showcase, do not think that you don't have a chance. And one of these artists performed a lot of other places. So get out there, get yourself known at the meet and greet, and then at the tables. The other thing is occasionally we can add on a big artist that some of the larger cities are doing. We love to do that. It is unusual, but we can. Also, we're Friday nights only. Also, think about homestays. A lot of the presenters are going to be offering you homestays like us. I can't say they're all phenomenal opportunities for you to enjoy yourself and relax and get some really delicious home-cooked food. But think about your reaction to homestays before you're there standing talking to presenters. You'll certainly want to tell presenters about any special needs that you have, including allergies, and also whether no, I can't stay in a place with a pet. Most people say, I'd love to stay in a place with a pet. So driving in the winter, yes, but if you've had some experience, make sure you tell us about that. Those are the things I wanted to add.
Those are great tips. And homestay can be a scary word to an artist.
Yes.
All of these presenters are happy to literally send you pictures, and you can put that in your contracts when you're writing them up with these great presenters. Just say, hey, can you send me a picture of what the homestay looks like? Is it a private home? Are there going to be people there with me? Is it a private bedroom? Some of these presenters have partnerships with hotels or motels in the area. And they'll put you there, but some of them have actually gorgeous homes that are better than any hotel, and they'd like to put you there. So just have a conversation about it and don't be afraid of the word necessarily.
Yeah, we had one artist in the past, and I won't mention any names, but he and his group had appeared on Grand Ole Opry 17 or 20 times. And he said to us when he first met us about 10, 12 years ago, I don't do homestays. And he kept wanting to come here, and we kept wanting to have him. And finally, he said, okay, I don't think the band will stay, but I will stay. And so this is what he told me after he stayed. And not only was that a best homestay he'd ever done, it was the best accommodation and most fun he'd had in his whole career. So they can be quite positive. You just got to assess what you're looking for and be open-minded.
That's right.
And I think sometimes we forget that these artists are on the road all the time. They're on a bus, they're at a hotel, into an ex-hotel. Last year, I had a group, Tango After Dark, from Buenos Aires, and they came in a day early because they barely got visas going into the country, which is another thing we might talk about because there are no Canadian presenters that are presenting at these conferences because they're concerned about that. But anyway, this tango group came in early. I had, of course, a big dinner party at my house. There was like tango dancing in the round room. It was literally the most fun. And they all just were so appreciative, from hotel to bus to whatever, to actually get to meet people and, relax. It's really a great thing for artists.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say, just to grab a sentence that Jim said at the beginning of the conversation, he puts his artists, he has an incredible partnership with Ranches at Belt Creek, which I will tell you, if you ever get to stay at Ranches at Belt Creek, you would do the show for free. Like it is a vacation spot that happens to have a performance associated with it. I got the pleasure of staying there. He was trying to I think, wow me, so we would bring our artists to Montana, and it worked because it is an incredible, incredible place. So we have just a couple minutes left. Emily, do you have any more business or housekeeping to take care of?
Yeah, I do have a couple of last of announcements. So I will, if there's no other questions, I'll continue to that. If you think of some later on, I'm available by email or by phone. You can find my contact information on the website. By the way, there's only one employee of MPAC, and it's me. So all roads, all email addresses, and phone numbers lead to me. Just so you could reach me that way. So I'll go ahead and see if I can figure out how to share my screen one more time. All right, so here's the QR code to our conference website. Our conference is October 16th through 18th. We have early bird registration right now, and it ends on August 15th. So get that taken care of in the next week. If you want to come and take advantage of that discount. And we also have a couple of other workshops coming up. This month, for those of you who are associated with 501c3s, this is going to be a really neat grants workshop by this organization that basically just reviews unfunded grant applications and gives the organization who wrote it like a lot of thorough feedback. I've done this. They've had like 7 various types of professional grant writers or grant panel reviewers go through my failed applications and then like tell me what I needed to hear to be ready for the next application cycle. So this is happening this month on August 20th. And then the next thing that's most pertinent to this group is our conference orientation, which takes place September 2. So this is rather than having presenters talking about the organizations, it's going to be me explaining the whole conference and how to be ready for it. Do join me for that. You can sign up for it right now, so it gets on your calendar. And again, that's September 2, and that's for artists and agents. And make sure you're getting our newsletter. So go here and subscribe. If you just go to our regular website, you'll easily find the button to subscribe to our newsletter, so you're getting updates from us. And that's it from me. So thanks again, everyone. This has been fun. I can't believe this hour is already over, but I feel like we managed to pack in a lot. So thank you very much to our panelists and to Ron for facilitating. And thank you all for joining us. And hopefully we'll see you in October in Helena. Thanks.